Bobby Likis Car Clinic begins at 6 minutes after the hour. Bobby Likis Car Clinic begins at 6 minutes after the hour. Bobby Likis Car Clinic begins at 6 minutes after the hour. Bobby Likis Car Clinic begins at 6 minutes after the hour. Bobby Likis Car Clinic begins at 6 minutes after the hour. Countdown to 3-minute mark. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, mark. Bobby Likis Car Clinic begins at 6 minutes after the hour. Bobby Likis Car Clinic begins at 6 minutes after the hour. Bobby Likis Car Clinic begins at 6 minutes after the hour. Countdown to 1-minute mark. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, mark. Countdown to 30-second mark. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, mark. Count down to 10-second mark. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, mark. Welcome to Bobby Likis Car Clinic. If you have a car question for Bobby, call now at 1-800-264-5454, toll free from anywhere in America. And now, here's your host, Bobby Likis.
And thank you, Marty White. Chomping at the bit. Now I know where they get that when they talk about horses, because Kevin and I and Kim and Jonathan here were chomping at the bit to get started because, again, as it is the case here at Car Clinic in the middle of the center of the automotive universe, we've added yet another piece of equipment to take advantage of our fiber feed to Westwood One in New York, where we come to our stations across the nation. I see that Peter is on the line, so after the break, we're going to come back, and Peter will be first in. He's first in. He'll be first up. This segment of Bobby Likis Car Clinic is brought to you in part by General Tire. Anywhere is possible with a grabber line of light truck tires born from competition. Visit GeneralTire.com for all the details. Also, this segment of Bobby Likis Car Clinic is brought to you by K&N, the original performance air filter of NASCAR. Superior airflow means a lot, folks. Superior performance, for one thing. Drive to knfilters.com for more. And I've got a little personal story I want to share with you as we go on about K&N and my experience with K&N. It has to do with rats. Well, but first, when we come back, it's going to be you, me, the phones, Peter, and the number is 888-227-2546. I'm Bobby Likis, waiting for your calls and your participation. Like us, you'll love us. Now to the Car Clinic inbox. Carlos in Louisiana writes, Bobby, I'm a big fan of Car Clinic and am a longtime user of the K&N products that you talk about on your show. I often visit online forums and recently saw this statement that left me puzzled. More airflow equals more dirt in your engine. I've had nothing but great experiences with K&N, but wanted your opinion. Carlos, thanks for being a loyal Car Clinic listener and for trusting the advice I give about our sponsors' products. Many disposable air filters rely on the principle of surface loading. Because it's a thin sheet of material, once a hole in the material is plugged with a dirt particle, no air can pass through it. On the other hand, K&N air filters feature depth loading, multiple layers of oil-treated cotton gauze that capture dirt particles in more of a three-dimensional fashion. Using this technique keeps the air flowing without restriction while providing excellent filtration. Learn more about how filters work by visiting the FAQ section at knfilters.com. This Tire Maintenance Minute is brought to you by General Tire and the G-Max AS03, the ultra-high-performance all-season tire. Today's tires are complex and their maintenance represents an important part of the vehicle safety puzzle. Driving on an improperly repaired tire is unsafe as a tire with worn tread, cracks, or other issues. To repair a tire, the puncture area needs to be approximately a half-inch or more from the sides and not larger than a quarter-inch hole. The recommended repair is a plug-patch combination, which requires a very specific procedure, including buffing the inside of the tire, prepping the area to be repaired, and allowing the glue to properly dry before reassembly. Not following these guidelines can result in tire failure and put you, your vehicle, and the vehicles around you in harm's way. General Tire's G-Max AS03 offers technologically advanced features like replacement tire monitor and visual alignment indicator, alerting drivers of misalignment and tread wear conditions. Drive to GeneralTire.com to learn more about the G-Max AS03, the ultra-high-performance all-season tire.
You're listening to Bobby Likis Car Clinic.
Like Shakespeare, we ask the question, what's in a name? Ours is pretty blah. We're Geico, not to be confused with Gecko, a small tree lizard. And no, Geico doesn't have a sister company named Girl Co. So, in the absence of a perfect name, focus group tested for hipness, we offer car insurance at a fair price. In 15 minutes, you could save 15%. Call 1-800-947-AUTO, 1-800-947-AUTO. Our name may not be cool, but saving money always is. Geico Direct, the sensible alternative.
Another lending success story from LendingTree.com.
I tend to put things off. For example, I put off getting a home equity line of credit for a while. Then one day, when I should have been doing my laundry, I went to LendingTree.com. I filled out one simple form and got 4 offers back within hours. Then I chose the line of credit that was right for me. Who knows? I may even get around to using it someday.
When banks compete, you win at LendingTree.com. Equal housing opportunity. For additional information and state license disclosures, please visit our website located at LendingTree.com.
And now back to Bobby Likis Car Clinic and your host, Bobby Likis.
Okay, let's get started with today's broadcast, global cast. For all of those of you who are tuned in via our AM and or FM radio stations across the nation, we thank you for listening. If you like this program, let your station know. The program directors and general managers at stations have their hands full on daily duties, just like with any job that you or I might have. And from time to time, it just sounds and feels good. Somebody calls you and says, hey, I like that program. It was educational, it helped me, and it was entertaining. And that's what that's what our goal is to infotain, is to provide you with information. And I've got tons of information, but first, as promised, we're going to go to South Carolina, and Kim will take your call. Mark this number, because now's the time to get in. Please don't wait to the second hour with 5 minutes left in the program, and I have to rush like a madman. So it's 888 Car Clinic is my number. 888-227-2546. Miss Kim will take your call, put you in the queue, and I promise I will put you on the air. So get in now. Peter from South Carolina, welcome to Bobby Likis Car Clinic. Thanks for calling in early. How are you doing?
Hey, Bobby, how you doing? I'm doing pretty good, but I got a car that's kind of sick.
Okay.
So we're trying to figure out how to do it in the most, non-expensive way. So I have a 2002 Z06
in the least painful
Corvette.
In the least painful way, right, Peter?
Yes, sir.
I see that it says traction control Z06. So share with me your story, and let's see if I can help you.
Okay, so about 3 months ago, I was riding down the dirt road I live on, and I noticed that usually when my car, for the first 5 minutes of it, it always has traction control warming up. It comes on every time, and then that was not the case this time. So I was kind of curious about that. So I rode about a mile or so down the road, and then all of a sudden these errors came up. One said service traction system, service active handling, and service ABS. They all three came on at one time.
Right.
I did some research and looked at the error codes. You can look at the error codes through the car. So I looked at the error codes, and the ones that I got would be a TCS 1232, 1233, and 1248.
Okay, and what do they equate to?
The sensors on the tires, the speed sensors.
Okay.
It appeared to be the problem, but it was hard for me to believe that both sensors on both sides of the car were out.
I agree. And that's a 4-stage system, so it has independent. All 4 wheels are measured, so there's not one center. There's not, as it is in some cases, 2 independent sensors, one on each front, and then one for the pinion that represents both wheels. Your car is a 4-wheel independent and has 4 speedometers, like you say, sensors, but they're speedometers. So right. I agree with you. It's doubtful that you're going to have a sensor go bad. But let me back up a minute because, and I've never owned a Z06, but you said it was common for the system to come on and say traction control warming up?
Yes, it's like not almost. Every time I start the car up, it'll tell you that the active traction control is warming up. So it's going through a warm-up stage, and it lasts probably, I don't know, maybe a minute, maybe 2 at the most, but it always comes on.
Well, let me ask you a question. Let's back up. You've obviously driven the car before you wait for that light to go off. Have you noticed that it's waiting to crawl over the road and get its place in life? Or is it truly, because warming up, to me, the only thing that warms up that is necessary to warm up in a traction control would be its connection with the onboard computer with the engine, because the traction control, and see, Peter, your problem may not be with the traction control or the stability control. It may be with the engine. Is the check engine light on?
No, there's no check engine light on, and I couldn't find any other codes except for those particular codes. I did, prior to that, I had some battery issues where I guess the battery's pretty much on its last leg.
Right.
And the battery kind of died on me a couple times.
Right.
And that, threw up other codes too. But once I got a new battery in there, those codes never did come back.
Okay, but they're in there. And to that end, that was my next question, and I was going to ask you about battery, because we had this week a Lexus in the shop, and a dear friend of mine called me 5 o'clock, not this Friday, but Friday a week ago. We shut the doors at 5:30. Calls me at 5 o'clock. He's leaving his house, going down to practice and shoot a few golf balls, and he says, "Bobby, my car won't go." It says, "Pull over, stop immediately." Long story short, Peter, he had a sunroof that automatically opened. All of the windows went down, and he put them all up, but the right rear window would not stay up. It kept bringing itself back down. And then the next thing you know, we had other lights come on, and we had to tow the car in. And in order to get it off of, they drug it onto the flatbed, and you could see the grass where he had parked it over off the road, and managed to get it over there by the hardest. They drug it onto the trailer because there were still chunks of grass on the right rear wheel where that side was on the grass. What we did, we got into it when the car got here, which was about 45 minutes later. We stayed after hours to wait on it, to make sure it was in the house because it was the weekend. And Guy, our ASE certified trained technician, got in the car and drove it off. I said, what did you do? I want to know what you did here, because I'm going to be talking to this owner. And he said, "Bobby, I just released the electronic park brake. It was on." Now, my friend didn't engage the park brake. He didn't let the windows down. And the only thing common to all of those, and of course we did scans, and there were, 43 modules on that car. It's a Lexus, 43 modules, and there were multiple codes, including HVAC and windows and those sorts of things. Ultimately, we did 0 repairs on that car, but what we did do, we had to retrain the windows, reprogram the windows, and we had to clear all the codes, and then I personally drove this car, and it was fine. What had happened is that at his office, the battery, he went out, it just refused to start. That's what batteries will do. They don't, sometimes they don't give you a warning, they just fail. Right, and so that's why if you've got 5 years on any battery, it's time to replace it. And to that end, I just put a battery in the smart car because it never gave any problems, and it's 7 years old. And I said, "Hey, I'm pushing my luck. My wife drives this vehicle, so I want to make sure it never fails to start, because of a battery." So the bottom line, and it was good because the battery, as we took it out, we tested it just for grins, and it failed. It failed the test. But after 7 years, it's an '08 car. Backing up to the Lexus now and to your car, what I recommend that you do is spend no money for repairs. I recommend you go to a shop that has a scan tool, and those scan tools are $4,000 or $5,000, that actually can go into the architecture of the software and clear the codes, but first to read all the codes that's there, clear them, and see if that returns the car, because indeed that worked on this Lexus, and the only thing was wrong with it, it had low voltage. And just think about it this way. If your body, and I had this recently that happened, if your body has a nerve issue and you favor one side of the body, pretty soon the side where the pain is atrophy, that muscle atrophies. And that happened to me in a short 6 weeks on my quad, on my right leg. And that is very much the same analogy that happens in an electronically controlled car, especially a sophisticated Z06 with all the electronics, because those modules, and that car's probably got, I don't know, at least 30 modules on it. Those cars look at voltages. It all works by voltage. They don't even know they're on a car, They use a reference voltage, and then just like Peter, if I sent you 5 volts, and you moved your right arm, held it up in the air, and moved it 1 foot to the left and right, and you sent me back 3 volts, I know that you're using 2 volts to move your arm. Therefore, if you moved your arm a foot and 1 inch, you'd use a tad more than 2 volts. And so I'd get back 2.9 instead of 3 volts. That's how, cars, that's one side of how electronics works. So it's a feedback and it's a loop back. So I say to you, not for you to do, because you cannot access where I want you to go. The technician has to.
Yeah.
Before you fix anything that may not be wrong, it just may be from the battery. And I will bet you, I'll bet you a cup of coffee, should you ever come to the center of the automotive universe, or I'll come to South Carolina, I'll bet you that you don't have a serious or a problem whatsoever. What you have is just a residual effect from low battery, and these systems are saying, hey, there's a problem here, let me out, I'm out of here, I can't do my job. And to that end, that's why I asked you about the check engine light. If you had a check engine light, the traction control would be the first to hold up its hand and say, I don't work, I don't count on me, because the traction control uses the engine control to do its job, and all it knows is the engine's got and it could be a gas cap. You see where I'm going? You see how it's all interconnected?
Right. It seems to be pretty complicated, but I never did get a check engine light, just status reading across the odometer where the odometer is.
Well, you will have, and hard break coming up, Peter, but you will have codes that your technician will read, and go to asashop.org to locate a verified shop near you. And don't touch your dial. I'm coming back, folks. Your car and your life have a lot of moving parts, and your car battery is what keeps it all going. While all batteries may look the same on the outside, it's what's on the inside that matters. Choose a battery with PowerFrame technology inside. It's stronger, more durable, and keeps you going longer. That means you can count on a battery with PowerFrame to be there start after start. Batteries with PowerFrame grid technology are available at Advance Auto Parts and CarQuest. Go to PowerFrame.com to find a store near you. I'm Bobby Likis, calling all technicians with 20 facts about ethanol. Extreme, way out there sports are impressive, but the grueling testing of E15 by the U.S. Department of Energy is in a league all its own. E15, or 15% ethanol blended fuel, has undergone the most robust and rigorous fuel testing done to date. For example, in a Department of Energy study, a subset of 86 vehicles driven more than 6 million miles, that's the equivalent of 12 round trips to the moon, on test tracks and dynamometers were torn down and inspected. Result? No discernible difference in engine wear between test fuels in vehicles made in model years 2001 and later, as approved by the EPA. I'm Bobby Likis, calling all technicians with 20 facts about ethanol. Brought to you by the Renewable Fuels Association. Drive to ethanolrfa.org. That's ethanolrfa.org. Whether you're a DIYer or a brake professional, be sure your brake job is complete by replacing all the brake hardware with Carlson quality brake hardware. Why? A brake job is more than simply replacing shoes and pads. Fact is, when you also replace springs, clips, and other hardware parts that hold all brake components in place, your brakes will perform better and last longer. It's a small investment to ensure your brake job is complete and done right. Invest in the best. Invest in Carlson quality brake hardware kits with every brake job.
You're listening to Bobby Likis Car Clinic.
The airlines like to have sales. Summer getaway sales, holiday sales, winter sales. Truth is, at any moment, some airline somewhere is on sale with low fares to great destinations. Travelocity knows exactly what's going on, who's on sale, to where, and when, at over 700 airlines worldwide. We even have this nifty feature that lets you look at a calendar so that you can see exactly the days the great fares are available. Travelocity.com. Go virtually anywhere. AOL keyword, travel.
Hun, guess my temperature.
It's 2 a.m. Go to sleep.
Come on, one guess.
I'm 98.
Higher.
Higher at 99.
You're getting warmer. Wait, I'm getting warmer.
Cold symptoms keeping you from getting a good night's sleep? Get NyQuil, the nighttime sniffling, sneezing, coughing, aching, stuffy head, fever so you can sleep better to feel better medicine. Use as directed.
One more guess.
100?
Yes. Tell her what she's won, Bob.
And now back to Bobby Likis Car Clinic and your hosts, Bobby Likis.
And welcome back to this segment of Bobby Likis Car Clinic, brought to you by Brake Best Quality Brake Hardware Kits. Folks, replace your brake hardware with Brake Best Quality Brake Hardware on every brake job for a certified fit and performance. Insist on Brake Best Quality Brake Hardware Kits available at O'Reilly Auto Parts, wouldn't you know, for sure. More information for you. I have Pinterest information. Miss Kim will take your calls at 888-227-2546. I want you to know that, and I have invited a guest, and Bob Long is going to be my co-host September 26th. So what's that? A couple of weeks? Is that a couple of? Yeah, it must be. Yeah, a couple of weeks. So mark your calendar. Let me just share a little information about Bob because he's a real cool guy. I've known him for a long time. He's a car guy like I. He's a radio host, better than I, quite candidly, in my opinion. But radio and automobiles have been lifelong passions for Bob. He was the host of Auto World, actually from Boston. He's a 30-year veteran of radio broadcasting, and he started his radio career at age 17. So he beat me to the punch there. And he's worked in major market music radio, national sports radio, national talk radio, and a Sirius XM radio, and just to name a few. And he's from Needham, Massachusetts, and he hung out at the local Ford dealer, as I can imagine, because I hung out at the local GM dealer. But he spent, as he progressed in his career, he spent more than 10 years at Motor Trend as the syndicated radio host and producer of Motor Radio, but also was a contributing writer, blogger, and streaming TV host for the company. I could go on and on and on, but just to share with you that Bob's going to be my co-host in a couple of weeks, so I would invite you to join me. And you can ask him a lot of questions about old classic cars because he's in the fray. He's right in the fray of the classic cars. I'll open the phones, 888-227-2546. Miss Kim will take your call and put you in the queue. And now let's go to Michigan for more news from our Car Clinic reporter, Jim Ross. Jim, welcome to Bobby Likis Car Clinic.
Well, thank you very much, Bobby. It looks like a gorgeous weekend. Cool weather's on the way already. And we're going to start out by talking about the United Auto Workers soon to have an opt-out option.
What is an opt-out option?
It means, according to the agreement on the contracts with the Big Three in Michigan, Michigan is one of the opt-out states, that they can still retain their jobs if they're not completely satisfied with the agreement by opting out not to be represented by the union. They will not lose their jobs.
So let me get this squared away, Jim, because I really haven't read and studied this bit of information. You're telling me I'm a union worker, you're a union worker, and our Car Clinic network union workers, and for some reason we don't agree with the union, so we can still opt out of the union and still have our jobs with Car Clinic network. That is correct. Now, this opt-out thing applies to certain states, and Michigan happens to be one of them. Well, what's the UAW what do they say about that? Okay, well, let me go back to the report for you. And the negotiations for the United Auto Workers and Detroit automakers hammering out new contracts, something new is looming. The UAW auto workers in Michigan now will have the right to withdraw from the union and stop paying dues for the current contract. Until the negotiations are over, which the deadline date is September the 14th, which is just a couple of days coming up on Monday, they have the right to opt out, being an opt-out state. Well, I'm sure there's more. That's really a surprise to me. I'm sure there's more to that than meets the eye because there has to be perks. There has to be health insurance and other job-related assets involved, because that's mainly salaries and high pay or maximum pay for. Well, from what I understand, Bobby, they're not going to lose these perks by dropping out, since we're an opt-out state in Michigan. Well, as a president of the UAW, I don't like that. But anyway, let's see how that shakes out. We'll talk about that in a future show. But that's very interesting, and this is because of a state law in Michigan. Is that correct?
Right. There are other states that have it besides Michigan.
Okay.
We are not the only one. And our
Well-
big three corporations here, with their negotiations expiring on the 14th of this month, the workers, they said, according to surveys, though, that they only expect maybe a percent or part of a percent to withdraw. They're not expecting a big withdrawal from the union.
And I would understand that, but of course, but let's face it. The first step of a 1,000-mile journey, starts with the first step. So, if one happens to pull out, and it works for that person, so we'll watch that with interest. I know that, and you and I have talked before that Ford is going to move some and open a plant in Mexico to build its cars, and a lot of that has to do with bottom line profits. Granted, because they're in a profit making, they have shareholders to please, but also a lot of that is the renewed union that says, okay, you're making a lot of money. We had our pay according to the 2009 bomb and the downfall, and now that you're making all this money, we want more of it. I think there has to be some compromise, and I think that what we're seeing, thanks to your reports, Jim, what we're seeing is a little here and a little there, and a report here, and that's just, for me, it's America. It's just another, we all have our opinions, some of which work and some of which don't. But the bottom line is we can all voice our opinions. And we're watching the automobile manufacturers and the UAW right now go through a phase of change. And that's about the only thing that you can know that's consistent in this world is change. What else did you bring us?
Musk, when he was asked if he would ever stop putting leather in his cars, and there's very little demand for leather to be removed and it's sold by customers. So it was completely rejected by the whole company. And I found that to be very interesting. If you can afford a luxury car, I guess you can afford to have leather in it, and you want leather.
Well, as I understand, the challenge was not whether or not to remove leather. It was from individuals who were vegans and really didn't want their car to have leather because they're, I can understand how individuals, but, let's face it, if you're in the mass market, and that's what automobile manufacturers are in, you have to settle with the masses. And quite candidly, one of the most prized possessions that I have is my car, and it is full of leather and wood. And quite candidly, leather doesn't wear as well as vinyl. The leather seat, you can see the leather seat wear where I sit in the car, but it sure is comfortable, and it has that warmth, and it has that personalized. So I understand that they did make a Tesla for these people. They bought a second Tesla without leather, but universally, that's just not feasible. And I would not, if I were Tesla, I would say, well, I'm sorry, we're not everybody's car. What do you think, Jim?
I agree with you. For example, right in my own home, I've got a leather seat by my computer, but it's not taking the same wear as my couch, which is not leather.
Right.
It's a comparison to this right there. Briefly, I want to say in high honor to Musk, when I saw him on the new Steve Colbert show, he's predicting going strong into space and making the planet Mars eventually have atmosphere like we have on Earth, and making it a full-size planet. And he described briefly how that could be done.
Well, that's for another show.
I'll tell you, but it's there. It's in the marks. But we've got more to go back to reality. And I didn't mean to go off the track.
No, not at all. I mean, I have so much admiration for Elon Musk, as do you, and anyone that really studies this individual. I mean, while we are struggling to go from day to day and to try to keep up with technology, he keeps reinventing the wheel. So, I've often said, I wonder what this guy does at night, or I wonder what his dreams are. But you have to admire an individual that completes the transaction of manufacturing a car that GM looks at and says, we better watch Tesla because we see what he's doing. And this happened more than 2 years ago. GM made a decision in-house behind closed doors to watch him because he's made cars. Tucker couldn't do it. Other companies, Hudson, all those companies went by and by. But Tesla's done a great job. Jim, once again, thank you for joining us today on Bobby Likis Car Clinic. As always, great information, updated information, and your opinion counts. And folks, if you'd like to hear this conversation, you can always go to iTunes to Bobby Likis Car Clinic, or you can go to YouTube, where our channel is Bobby Likis Car Clinic, and hear this conversation after today's broadcast. Jim, thanks again for joining us.
Thank you, Bobby.
And also, I want to share this one last thing, and then I see the phones are lit up. 888 Car Clinic, of course, is the number. 888-227-2546. See, this weekend is really the UAW. That's where the talks come to a finalization. And wouldn't you know that there's a huge auto show, the Frankfurt Auto Show, and two of the CEOs there's Ford, Chrysler, and GM. Well, two of those CEOs are going to Frankfurt. And then Sergio Marchion from Fiat Chrysler will be going. Mary Barra is going. And so when you think about that, why would the CEOs of these very large corporations leave town to attend a show? Now I know why they go, because they want the European market, but to leave on this particular weekend, when the UAW is trying to finalize, it smacks of arrogance to me. And I have no axe to grind. I promote new car manufacturers because I love the new technology. But I just find it a bit, I mean, if you're going to, and you have a challenge with a large corporation, and you're going to be meeting, and this is the final weekend, and the manufacturers, of course, have their individual groups that meet with the UAW, then certainly I think that they should be available. Having said that, and looking at both sides, because there's always two sides to every story. Having said that, they're as close as a phone call away, literally. And so I understand why they go. I think the timing is just happened to be that way. It happened to be poor. And then one last comment, and then we're going to go back we're going to get off the soapbox here. I promise. We're going to take in fact, Tom from Missouri is coming up, so we're going to be taking Tom's call. But last but certainly not least, I think the union has left its position where it started years ago to protect workers from big corporations and become a big corporation itself. So that's my opinion. For what it's worth, it's my show. Like us. I hope you'll love us. 888 Car Clinic, 888-227-2546. Your call and Tom's call when I come back. Don't touch your dial. Today's new product spotlight is on Denso's Iridium TT spark plugs. Your vehicle spark plugs deliver the electric current needed to ignite the fuel that runs your engine. But not all spark plugs are the same. Denso is proud to introduce the Iridium TT spark plug. Iridium is in the platinum family and is the most corrosion-resistant metal known on Earth, resisting wear and oxidation in the harshest of environments. The TT stands for twin tip. This technology promotes the largest spark energy concentration and explosion possible by shrinking the two electrodes and thus reducing spark interference. The result is better fuel economy, more power, and faster starts, all while reducing carbon emissions. Taking things a step further, Denso developed a proprietary 360-degree laser welding process which creates a high-quality bond that ensures structural support. Denso has a tradition of innovation. Using their OE expertise, Denso products are manufactured to give you the right part and the right fit the first time, every time. Learn more about Denso's Iridium TT spark plugs at densott.com.
You're listening to Bobby Likis Car Clinic.
Waking up can be a chore, but mornings knocking on my front door. Know just what I'll do. Put on a pot of Folgers brew. Mountain grown aroma hits the spot. Helps me give all that I've got. An opportunity to start out smiling and happy. The best part of waking up is Folgers in your cup.
Good night, Prevotella. Good night, Actinomyces. Good night, Streptococcus.
Germs, millions of them. They've been building up in your mouth all day, and some of them can even lead to the gum disease gingivitis. Say goodnight with Listerine. Just 30 seconds of Listerine before bed kills germs, even germs that can cause gingivitis. Use Listerine every night and go to sleep with a healthier mouth. See your dentist. Use as directed when brushing and flossing aren't enough.
If you're familiar with the Kulseford section of the newspaper, you probably understand this message quite well. You see, in the Kulseford section, everything gets abbreviated. Consonants, vowels, prepositional phrases, the very building blocks of our language are thrown right out the window. And that makes it difficult when you're trying to sell your car. You've got a limited amount of space to work with, and by the time you abbreviate the description of your car down to a couple of fragmented sentences, it sounds less like a car and more like a Bluck sedan with sniffed like new condition lemurs. No wonder more people are selling their cars through eBay Motors. They can post unlimited text and photo descriptions, and with a nationwide marketplace, they're likely to sell it for more. Plus, both parties can be covered by eBay's Vehicle Protection Program. Buyers are happy, sellers are happy, and no one's abbreviating. eBay Motors, a better way to sell your car.
And now back to Bobby Likis Car Clinic and your host, Bobby Likis.
And welcome back to today's broadcast. Mark your calendars, as I said earlier, for a couple of weeks. September 26th, that's the 26th of this month, Bob Long will come in, who is a dear friend of mine. And I think you'll like this gentleman. I know you will. He has automotive experience. He's interviewed probably more people than I over his career, because he started at 17. I was still, well, I started to say I was still in diapers at 17. Well, more or less. Okay, I shouldn't go there, I guess, right, Kevin? Well, hey, my mind is kind of okay. Let me shift gears here. Pinterest. This week we had some really cool cars that we worked on. Well, every week we do. But on our Pinterest board, you go to pinterest.com/Bobby Likis. Check out the board. It's In the Shop with Bobby Likis. And on this week's In the Shop board, we pinned some photos of a 1997 Ford Ranger with only 107,000 miles on it. That's not many miles. The automotive physician was our ASE certified technician, Zach Cash. And here's what was wrong. The AC stopped blowing cold air. The customer added 2 cans of refrigerant, and the Freon continued to leak out. Well, duh. I mean, it does that. You don't add, and it goes. It doesn't just evaporate. It has to get out of the system. Multiple refrigerant leaks in the system. So what Zach did was he verified an initial leak at the firewall where the AC connections failed due to old O-rings. He replaced the O-rings, and then he pressurized the refrigerant system to check for further leaks and found a secondary leak at the evaporator core. That is not good. That was not good. There are photos of this particular repair and this procedure. But here's what I want you to take away from it. Go to Pinterest.com for the pictures and take a look, because you can see it's Reality Auto Repair is what it is, what I'm referring to. But you'll see there that, you take your car in and they say, well, we're going to have to do this procedure first to find out what is really wrong with the car. In this case, we had to, because there were some real bad leaks at that fitting. Well, just adjacent to that fitting, but inside the car, the evaporator core was leaking, and Zach found that. And that's really important. Take a look, and you'll see at Pinterest.com. Let's go to Missouri. Tom, thank you for holding. You're most patient. Welcome to Bobby Likis Car Clinic.
Thank you, Bobby.
You're welcome.
I'm dealing with a 2001 Grand Caravan minivan.
Okay.
And the front brakes locked up on it, and I removed a fuse, and that, I guess, disabled the ABS brakes to go on manual, and I was able to get home, and then I drove it like that for a while, and it was just on manual brakes, I suppose, and it did okay, but now the front brakes are locking up again, as if I put that fuse back in there, and I did not.
Well, that fuse didn't cause your brakes to lock up. That was not the problem. Just for some strange reason. I mean, it sounds to me like an ABS internal system failure. And by removing the fuse, you shut down the signal to the ABS system. Of course, the ABS light has been on since you removed the fuse, right?
Yes.
Yeah, okay. I unfortunately, I think you've got a problem with the ABS. But fortunately, there are companies out there that you can access through the web that can repair some, not all, ABS control systems because they're very expensive. And so that's very unusual. I don't know that I've ever heard that story before. We've had numerous problems with ABS systems, but I don't recall any ABS systems causing the brakes to lock up. But you know, I'm not. I say that, but I'm sure one of my techs will come up Monday and say, "Yeah, we had one last week that was a blah blah blah, and it did this same thing." So you know, Tom, well, the first thing you need to do is have the system checked out, and the ABS system can be tested, but it have to have a professional scan tool. And so this is not going to be invasive because you don't want to go in there and start replacing parts. That's invasive. It invades the wallet. So you want something that's non-invasive, but you must have proper diagnostics, or I'll take that word, scratch that, remove that from the records. You must have proper tests performed before you can get the sense of direction. So that's your to-do. And in Missouri there, I would recommend that you go to, do you have a shop that you frequent? You have friends in the automotive repair and service market there in Missouri?
There's a
yes, or
Chrysler dealer probably 6 miles away.
Well, here's what I would recommend strongly. Maybe not what you want to hear, but this is the proper procedure, and you've got a safety issue here. And so for your safety and mine, if I'm in the car next to you and your family's, call the dealer, make an appointment, and say, I would like for you to put your scan tool on my vehicle and do a cursory overview. And a cursory overview means that you understand that they're not going to start taking your car apart. Of course, when you get a face-to-face, then you look at Tom, Dick, or Harry, and you said, okay, Tom, now we're not going to take anything apart. How much money are you going to spend? Because I don't want to come back and have a $1,000 bill. So that is the way that you communicate with a service shop, and then you're on the same page. And if they say, we'll be glad to scan the vehicle, there are a couple of tests that we can run. And Tom, just for you to know, we can hook a scan tool to your car through its data port and operate the systems from outside of your car. We actually can do it wirelessly, and so can your local dealer. And that's what I would do first, and then tell them that you've taken the fuse out, and that seemed to have an effect on it, but that's not the same anymore. I suspect that you could have something so simple as a master cylinder or a brake hose, but brake hose would mean you wouldn't likely have two brake hoses that are bad, and I presume that you're talking both brake front are locking up, right?
Yes, both of them.
Yeah.
If I drive about a mile, both front wheels will just get so hot you can't touch them.
Well, let me ask this one question. Did you add, or has any person added within the last 3 months new brake fluid, or topped it off?
No.
Okay, all right. So, all right, then let's don't read too much into because I'm going in a lot of different directions in my brain here. So let's stay on track. Call the dealer, make an appointment for a cursory read of and a test of the ABS unit and the system, and they should charge you no more than 1 hour to at least do a cursory overview, which will give you a lily pad that you can safely jump on, and then you and the dealer and the technician can determine what's the next best step from there. You got it?
Yeah, that's good. I just wish I wasn't so far away from the. I may have to have it towed that kind of a distance, or because.
Well, so be it. That part is a given. That's the easy part. I mean, you got to pay for it, but that part's the easy part. We want to make sure that we're on the right track and in the right repair arena, because it's your dollars. And don't forget, it's an 01 model. It has age on it, and so there's some components and rubbers and elastomers and a lot of things that deteriorate over time. So you got
does the ABS unit last about 10 or 14 years, and then you need to replace it?
No, not at all. No. There's no mileage. Has nothing to do or time. I mean, I've got a 01 Town & Country with 150,000 plus miles on it, and the ABS has never given a problem. But it's used a lot. It's regularly used. Anyway, tow it to the dealer, talk to them, pay them an hour, Let them run the test. Let them get back to you with a report. And if you're not comfortable with what or don't understand what they say, call me back next week.
Thank you, Bobby.
You're more than welcome. Thank you for your confidence in me. I appreciate it, Tom. And I wish you well. I wish you good luck. And now we'll take a call from Washington. I see that Victor's on the phone, but Victor, Dave came in first. So let's go to Dave. Dave, welcome to Bobby Likis Car Clinic. And then we're going to go to Victor as time permits. Welcome to Bobby Likis Car Clinic. Dave, how may I help you?
Well,
hey, I'm looking. I'm not to take your thunder here, but I'm looking on the screen. It says ABS and brake lights staying on. Would you go figure now? 2 calls, and one's a town and one. Yours is an 04 Crown Vic. Give me an overview of your case.
well, I was. Lady ran a stop sign the other day, and I had to slam on my brakes.
Right.
And now my ABS and my brake light are staying on.
Well, two things that come to my mind. One, let's see, you're in Missouri. I don't know if it's raining there, but if you could find some dirt road. This is rough on tires, but you can try it. That's sort of a private road and not a lot of traffic, and then drive 20 miles an hour, 25. 20, 25 miles an hour, or 30 if you please. Make sure that whoever's in the car with you has their seatbelt on, and nail the brakes and feel the pulse of the ABS to make sure that it's working. Because what could have happened was, in your panic stop, one of the wheels started to lock up and the ABS kicked in, and it had been dormant all this time because there's no. See, years ago when they first came out with ABS, they and this is years ago, when you turn the ignition switch on, you'd hear this because they would exercise the unit to keep it exercised, because the only time it ever is used is in panic stopping. So if you never panic stop, you could drive the car 20 years and never use it, and then you count on something that hasn't been used in 20 years. But people complained about that weird noise, so they stopped doing that. And they made better units as well. That was the first, Lincoln Mercury made that. So what I'm saying to you is, you have engaged a unit that heretofore has been dormant for a long time, obviously, and it didn't like that. And so it has what we call thrown a code or caused a code to go to the computer. So I think it's best that you go out and do it again. And now I don't know if that's going to put the light out. I doubt it. But at least you'll know if the system is working. If the system's working, then the code could be cleared, and then you may be good to go. And to clear the code means that you'd have to go to an authorized ASE trained technician to get that code cleared. And the same thing applies to what I just told the other gentleman that called with regard to having someone qualified to test the system. But in this case, you can test physically whether or not it's working, and then go from there. Got it?
I mean, yeah, the brakes work fine and everything.
I know, but do you understand? Do you understand what I just told you?
Yeah.
Well, go do it. And see.
All
right. Thank you. So that's what you got to do, folks. I mean, I share with you information that I know that works, and I don't care what your next door neighbor says or what have you, but you got to get a one lily pad to another lily pad. Victor in Washington. Victor, always great to have you on the program. Welcome to Bobby Likis Car Clinic.
Yeah, thank you, Bobby. I just wanted to bring out something that I ran across a few years ago.
Okay.
That the way our free trade, which is an import-export business, is being operated unconstitutionally, it's breaking the Constitution. In Article 1, Section 8, it says Congress shall have power to lay duties and imposts, which are tariffs,
okay,
to pay the debts. Okay, we're operating that great big huge loss, so you can't pay debts with a loss. Provide for the common defense, that costs money, so you can't do that with a big debt. And the general welfare of the United States, which, of course, driving us into debt, that isn't for our welfare. So I sued a couple of years ago, I sued the U.S. government, both houses and the president, I did it myself, didn't use a lawyer. It cost too much money on that issue, and I wanted the federal judge to order the United States government to operate the import-export business at a profit. That was what I was trying to do.
Wow, that's gutsy.
Well, I just got so sick of what's going on. I got desperate, you know. It's way beyond my pay grade. I'll say that. You know.
Well, it's way beyond mine. But you know, I mean, it's suing the federal government is not on my bucket list. But I got to tell you, Victor, I admire you. But anyway, there has to be some rest of the story here.
Yeah, there is.
Okay.
I you know, the reason I sued him, I actually believed that our U.S. government, our elected officials, had to obey the Constitution, and that was my argument. I said, now, I flubbed up a lot of things, and they were catching me on a lot of things I weren't doing right, so they were knocking me around, the U.S. attorney that I was arguing with. And but they told me several things, but the one thing that they told me, and why they dismissed the case, they said that I failed to identify a waiver of their sovereign immunity. And I argued that the Constitution is a contract between the U.S. citizens and the government for our elected officials, the U.S. government, to operate the United States according to that contract. And me being one party to the contract, both parties are equal to a contract, so I had every right to sue them to make them obey the Constitution. They just never did... They just ignored my arguments. They never said anything about that I wasn't right. They just kept telling me that I never identified a waiver of their sovereign immunity. And that puzzled me. I couldn't figure out what. Well, I told them that any immunity they think they have should be waived for breaking the Constitution. Breaking the Constitution is reason enough to waive any immunity that they think they have.
Well, I hear what you're saying, and Victor, at the end of the show is coming up here, a little hot at that, but sorry about that. I'd love to hear more. I'd love to hear more. Maybe, perhaps call back next hour, and I'd like to hear it. Folks, we'll be back after the top of the break. Likis, you'll love us.
This is Bobby Likis Car Clinic. Bobby Likis Car Clinic is a copyrighted presentation of Car Clinic Productions Incorporated and may not be reproduced or rebroadcast without the express written approval of Car Clinic Productions Incorporated.
Today's new product spotlight is on Cardone Ultra Premium Calipers. You've spent hours getting your ride ready for a cruise around town. You can see your reflection in your door and eat off the dashboard. But what about those rusty calipers? They just can't withstand the elements. But Cardone Ultra Premium Calipers feature an exclusive weatherproof coating that protects against rust and corrosion. Wrapped in a sleek, powder-coated silver finish, Cardone Ultra Premium Calipers look sharp and complement all wheel types. Installation is easy and all necessary hardware is provided. Cardone Ultra Premium Calipers provide the best of both worlds, premium appearance and superior performance. And now, through November 30, every Cardone Ultra Premium Caliper you purchase gives you a chance to win a Ford Mustang GT. Monthly winners will also be chosen to win a $250 Visa gift card. Register and report each product code at CardoneUltra.com. That's CardoneUltra.com.
You're listening to Bobby Likis Car Clinic.
Bob, what's new? Last month I'm in Africa when this wildebeest charges me. We butt heads and he's history. After I pull my guide from the jaws of an alligator, I dig into some beef jerky. I get heartburn. I take out my Rolaids as I'm fighting off a wild boar. In under 10 seconds it starts working. Then the boar is bye-bye. My heartburn's gone.
Rolaids starts working in under 10 seconds? You expect me to believe that?
It's true. Rolaids starts neutralizing acid in under 10 seconds. ROLAIDS spells relief. Use as directed.
While Johnny Kim was getting ready for the first customers of the day, someone else was looking at larger space for his growing business. At 3 o'clock, while the Curtis family was watching their daughter's soccer game, someone else was walking a prospective tenant through one of their apartment buildings. And while Carmen Delabar was preparing for a fashion show, someone else met with an appraiser about her investment property. You've got a life. We let you live it. We're realtors. Real estate is our life.
Bobby Likis Car Clinic begins at 6 minutes after the hour. Bobby Likis Car Clinic begins at 6 minutes after the hour. Bobby Likis Car Clinic begins at 6 minutes after the hour. Bobby Likis Car Clinic begins at 6 minutes after the hour. Bobby Likis Car Clinic begins at 6 minutes after the hour. Countdown to 3-minute mark. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, mark. Bobby Likis Car Clinic begins at 6 minutes after the hour. Bobby Likis Car Clinic begins at 6 minutes after the hour. Bobby Likis Car Clinic begins at 6 minutes after the hour. Countdown to 1-minute mark. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, mark. Countdown to 30-second mark. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, mark. Countdown to 10-second mark. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, mark. Welcome to Bobby Likis Car Clinic. If you have a car question for Bobby, call now at 1-800-264-5454, toll free from anywhere in America. And now, here's your host, Bobby Likis.
And thank you, Marty White. Marty's right. If you have a car question, feel free to call in. And just for you to know, the only dumb car question is the one not asked. So if you're in a situation where maybe you have kids away at college, and maybe they called you this week in a panic saying, my car quit, what do I do? Or it's overheating. And really, the overheating part is probably worse than the quitting part. When a car quits, I mean, at least you got to tow it in and either a fuel pump or timing belt or chain or something that makes it stop. But a car that's overheating could be, in your wildest dreams, the thermostat. Usually it's not the thermostat, but could be. It could be a radiator. But what happens is that because you can stop the car and it cools down, you can drive it, drivers tend to continue to use a car that's overheating. So it's like having a sprained ankle. There's only cure for sprained ankles, don't walk on it. So the only cure for an engine that's erratically overheating is do not drive it. Take it into a service shop and figure out what's wrong with it. So that's my little open for this hour of Bobby Likis Car Clinic. I want to welcome you. Kim will take your call and put you in the queue. I suggest you get in early. 888-227-2546. I see that Mike is calling from Nebraska. We'll be going to him. And then I have, get this, the 10 most stolen vehicles in America. Wonder if your car is going to be on that list. You'll find out when I come back. I'm Bobby Likis. Like us, you'll love us. Folks, be sure to tune in to Car Clinic next week. We're giving away a $100 gift card courtesy of Auto Value and Bumper to Bumper. The folks at Auto Value and Bumper to Bumper want to remind you to replace your brake hardware with every brake job. A brake job is more than simply replacing shoes and pads. Brake hardware is all the supporting components in, on, and around the caliper and pads that help properly align the brake pads and retract them away from the rotor for smooth, reliable, quiet, and efficient brake performance. Replacing brake hardware is a small investment to ensure your brake job is complete and done right. Be sure to insist on Carlson Quality Brake Hardware for certified fit and performance. You can find Carlson Quality Brake Hardware at your local Auto Value or Bumper to Bumper. And remember to tune in to next week's Car Clinic for your chance to win a $100 gift card courtesy of Auto Value and Bumper to Bumper. Here's an email from a Car Clinic listener. David writes, "What's the amber light on my dash? It looks like a cork pointing at an angle to a picture on the side of the car. This light has been on and off for about a year now, and I think it's time I check it out." Well, David, no time like the present. The light indicates a detected failure that could allow gasoline fumes to evaporate into the air, costing you money in lost fuel and polluting the air. Most common failure that trips the light? A small evap leak, or in other words, loose fuel cap. Besides being tight, the cap must also be in good condition. Fuel caps don't last forever, and poor quality caps don't work well from the beginning. Stant makes a large line of fuel caps that will last a very long time and ensure proper sealing of the system. Stant fuel caps are the only aftermarket caps to include all the safety features of the original equipment cap. Visit Stant.com or ask your local parts store for a Stant gas cap by name.
You're listening to Bobby Likis Car Clinic.
Another lending success story from LendingTree.com.
Car dealers like playing games. They play percentage points, they play markups, but I don't like playing with my money. So I got my auto loan through LendingTree.com. I filled out one simple form, a marketplace of banks and lenders competed over it, and I got 4 offers back within hours. After all, the car buying game is a lot easier to win when you're holding all the cards.
LendingTree.com. When banks compete, you win. For additional information and state license disclosures, please visit our website located at lendingtree.com.
The following is a consumer alert. If you purchased a Philips Halogena light bulb 2 years ago and it is still working, do not panic. A Philips Halogena bulb is guaranteed to last 2 years. Therefore, your light bulb is not possessed and you are not trapped in a time warp.
Philips, light bulbs that last. Guarantee based on 4 hours average daily use. See package for details.
And now back to Bobby Likis Car Clinic and your host, Bobby Likis.
And welcome to this hour of Bobby Likis Car Clinic. I really have some great information. The phones are starting to light up again, so I'm torn between, do I go to the phones or give information? But Mike called in early, so I am going to go to the phones. But I will tell you this. I am going to share the 10 most, not now, I am going to share the 10 most stolen vehicles in America. And the irony of this is that the list has really changed because a lot of the cars are getting harder to steal. But next to that, I have another report on the most hackable cars on the road today. So it's really interesting to see, okay, which cars are the thieves taking? And this information comes from the National Insurance Crime Bureau, and it actually lists state by state. So if you live in Texas or D.C. or Washington State or California, you have some idea whether or not your car is in more danger there than it would be elsewhere. I don't think you should really dwell on it, but it's very interesting to me. And then the hackable cars, we've all heard, and big stories come out of nowhere. I think they go viral, like a loose cap. When the check engine light comes on, everybody universally comes into the shop. Well, I put a cap on it, and that didn't fix it. Well, that's just one of the reasons that a check engine light could come on. It's not the reason, but it seems to be in the mind of most car owners because it's easy and it's inexpensive. So I get it. Let's go to Mike in Nebraska. Mike, thanks for holding, and glad you called in early. So you are first up. Welcome to Bobby Likis Car Clinic. Glad to have you join us.
Thank you, Bobby. How are you this morning?
I'm really good, thanks. I appreciate you asking that. I'm just really good. I was injured in a boating incident, July 11th, and I won't go into that. And I've been very concerned. I actually thought I was going to have a back operation, and I knew I didn't want to go there. And my body has miraculously fixed itself, and that goes against everything that I know. Because, cars don't fix themselves. But thanks for asking, Mike. How are you, sir?
I am good.
Good.
Bobby, I got a 2008 GMC Arcadia.
Okay.
And I was on a trip, and the last 200 miles of the trip, I had a light come on.
Right.
And it said, service, traction control, and then it would flash service, StabiliTrak.
Right.
And so that lasted for a few weeks. And then it went away. So I'm just wondering, does it need to be looked at? Was it just a momentary thing?
Well, both. It was probably a momentary. It was probably a hard code, which means that one of the sensors had tar or dirt or debris or a bad connection or whatever. Electronics can be elusive as far as that goes. I like to, if I have an electronic problem, Mike, I like to find the problem, and then when I get down to saying, okay, here's the culprit, and I'm holding up a stapler, which is not electronic, but here's the culprit, and you fix the car. I actually have gone so far as to put the old part back on to see if it would make it break again, and if it's a plug and play, like a relay for a fuel pump or what have you. So I believe that your car did have a hard fault code in it, and therefore the light came on. And then for some reason or another, that fault went away, and so the computer that monitors your car as you drive had enough multiples of starts. In other words, you started it. Let's say if you took the gas cap off and the check engine light came on, you put the gas cap back on. The check engine light is still going to be on. But if you drove the car enough times, and it would take X amount of restarts, and they're different for different automobiles. Let's just say it would take 33 restarts. So that means that you stopped the car and got a loaf of bread, picked it up, or you went home. So it may take you 30 days or 15 days, or it may take you 5 days. I had this personally to happen on my car because I had left the gas cap loose. And don't ask me, I'm the only person that touches it. So I just absolutely did. And the light came on and said gas cap loose. And it didn't say check engine light, it said gas cap loose. And I thought that was so cool because it was so technically informative that I didn't fix it. And I just let it go. And then I waited a week, and then the check engine light came on. That loose light turned into a check engine light. And then I went and checked the cap, and lo and behold, it was loose. And I still didn't remove the code because I wanted to see what would happen. And it took about 4 days before it finally reset itself. Having said all of that, and for you to know, Mike, your system did exactly as mine. It fixed itself, sort of. Of course, you didn't fix your gas cap like I did. But the system still has the code in it that's relative to the code that caused the light to come on. So your to-do is to go to a shop, in local ASE certified, independent, or dealer, your choice, and have them to read the codes that are stored in the computer. And don't be surprised if there are half a dozen codes, because the computer sees a glitch and it says, I'm watching this. Oh, wait, it's turned into, it's not just a speck in the eye. There's something in the eye here. We've got to get it out. Oh, it's gone now, but I'm going to record it just for like doctors do. I'm going to record it and put it in your file. So your check engine light is gone, but there are recordings in your file, in your car, because it has a very sophisticated system. And it's really kind of cool. So have it tested, have the codes read. And then I would, if nothing is found that is solid, and I don't think they will because the light's not on, have them to clear the codes, and then you'll start fresh. But for those who are tuned in, it is not a good idea if you have an ongoing erratic driving problem to clear a code and then go to another technician, because then the second technician in line doesn't have the history from which to gain or glean information. Does that make sense? Do you understand?
Yeah, I understand what you're saying.
Great, cool. Hey, thanks for calling, and good luck. I think clearing the codes after you've printed what's there, and don't be surprised if you got some codes that that don't even make sense, like the left mirror didn't respond to a control, or the seat memory didn't respond in 0.2 of a second. The computer has fuel trim, a lot of things that will be there, but once you clear the codes, the computer has a new outlook on life, and it says, okay, history's behind us, let's start fresh. Anyway, thanks for calling, Mike, and thanks for holding.
Yep, thanks, Bobby. I'm going to head to the Colonel Cody Cruise show, the car show here today. There's the big cars, lots of them. I'm excited. Thank you.
You're welcome. Well, as always, the cruise show is a big deal in Kearney, Nebraska. And as always, for everyone tuned in, KGFW there, as I recall, I apologize because I'm not there. I'd love to be right there with you. And if I were there, I would bring my guest that's coming at September the 26th. Mark your calendar, and please, all you folks and all you guys there and gals in Kearney, Nebraska that love cars, please mark your calendar at Daytona, Ormond Beach, Farmington, Missouri. All of our regulars, mark your calendar for September 26th, a couple of weeks from now, because Bob Long will be with me. And, between the two of us, we probably know everything there is. Never mind about that. Let's go to Rob okay, let's talk to Rob. Rob, welcome to Bobby Likis Car Clinic. Rob has some information on a previous call with regard to brakes locking up on a van. Rob, welcome to Bobby Likis Car Clinic. Thanks for calling in.
Hey, thanks, Bobby. Yeah, I had a very similar problem and took it to my mechanic. He wound up changing what are they called? Changing the bearings out, everything like that. It wound up being a little piece in the center
Yeah.
of the van.
Yeah.
That's like an old-fashioned cable splitter.
Wow.
And in other words, the brake line goes in, and then it splits off
Yeah.
to the wheels.
Yeah.
And that stupid little $29 part, that fixed it.
Well, that nice little $29 part. Hey, listen, Rob, if you got it fixed, if you bought a $29 part and fixed anything on a car, that part's not stupid. It's your friend. And thank you for sharing that. Yeah. Okay. Hey, thanks so much for calling in. That is
Have a great day.
You as well, my friend. That is so great. You know what I really love? I love it when people call, you call, and talk about other callers' problems because you can provide information. And speaking of information, have you ever heard of Car and Driver magazine? Well, yes, we all have. Eddie Alterman is the editor-in-chief, and we've invited him on the show. Kevin's already dialed him up. I'm not going to try to rush him into this segment. I'll wait. Let's wait till the next segment when we come back from the break. And I see that Sam from Texas is calling in. Sam, you hang in there. I'm going to come to you. Victor's calling back from, this is great. This is going to be great. We're going to hear from Eddie Alterman when we come back. Then go to Victor, Sam, and take your calls at 888-227-2546. We're going to have some car fun. I'm Likis.
They're out there. Gunk, corrosion, and wear. Relentlessly preying on engines. But new Shell V-Power Nitro Plus Premium Gasoline provides unbeatable protection from gunk and corrosion, and superior protection against wear, for the best total engine protection you can get. Stay ahead of engine threats with new Shell V-Power Nitro Plus Premium Gasoline today.
You have places to go, people to see, and things to do 365 days a year. And there's one tire that will get you there, no matter the adventure. General Tire's new Altimax RT43. The all-season tire designed for a quiet, comfortable ride that includes industry-leading Smart View technologies. Let General Tire give you the reliability, performance, and traction you demand. For more information, visit GeneralTire.com. That's GeneralTire.com. I'm Bobby Likis, calling all technicians with 20 facts about ethanol. Ethanol by the numbers. 113, ethanol's octane rating. 90,200 jobs ethanol created in 2011. 45% lower oil import dependency level due to ethanol. 25.3 million tons of greenhouse gas emissions reduced by ethanol's use. $1.09 per gallon reduction in wholesale gasoline prices enabled by ethanol in 2011. $42.4 billion ethanol's contribution to the gross national product. 6 million miles traveled in testing E15. 2001 model year and newer light-duty vehicles approved for E15 use. 1.7 to 2.3 units of energy ethanol yielded for every unit used to produce it. 20. I'm Bobby Likis with 20 facts about ethanol. Brought to you by the Renewable Fuels Association.
You're listening to Bobby Likis Car Clinic.
Commercials are more effective if you use real people. So on the line is Angie McPhee, a Geico auto insurance customer who saved over $300. This is not an actor we hired to play Angie McPhee. It's the Angie McPhee. So in your own words, tell us, are you Angie McPhee?
Yes.
There. Unmistakable proof that Geico customers are real and save money. In 15 minutes, you could save 15%. Call 1-800-947-AUTO. 1-800-947-AUTO. Geico Direct, the sensible alternative.
Some original thinking by Starbucks barista Frank Botex.
What I love most is getting customers to smile in the morning. Starbucks is just a place to come and relax, to kick your feet back. I mean, it's a second home. Starbucks is now in a grocery store, and what better way to just become your own personal barista at home? You go to the grocery store, pick up some coffee, take it home, let the aroma take over your body.
Your favorite Starbucks coffee, at grocery, at home, at last.
And now back to Bobby Likis Car Clinic and your host, Bobby Likis.
And welcome back to Bobby Likis Car Clinic. Call with your car questions.
you can set it to give you some additional slip and make you look like a hero.
It's not fair. Nobody ever saved my bacon. Eddie Alterman, editor-in-chief, Car and Driver. When does the magazine hit the streets?
Magazine went on newsstands Tuesday. And go to caranddriver.com for more info.
Eddie Alterman, editor-in-chief, Car and Driver. One final question. Were you one of the drivers?
No, I'm not fast enough. No.
Okay. Well, but you're honest, and that's what I like. Hey, thanks for joining us on Bobby Likis Car Clinic. Folks, doesn't get any better than that. Go to caranddriver.com for more information and get yourself a Car and Driver report and see what GM has done to lead the way. Eddie, thanks again. It's been a pleasure to have you on Bobby Likis Car Clinic.
It's absolutely my pleasure, Bobby. Thanks so much.
And, you know, they have to have a lot of fun. Those editors and drivers have to have a lot of fun because they're on a track and they can let it all hang out there. Okay, speaking of letting it hang out, let's take another call because we're running short on time. We have another segment coming up. Sam from Texas, it's your turn. Welcome to Bobby Likis Car Clinic. Thanks for holding.
Thank you. My second-time listener to Bobby, and I'm loving it.
Well, I'll tell you, you got to love that Eddie Alterman in Car and Driver, you know, and I asked him, well, did you drive? And he just laughed and, you know, and I don't know if you paid attention or not, but when I said nobody ever saved my bacon, and that's right. I mean, I backed my Viper into a curb, and I wasn't even going fast. It was raining. But I was obviously doing something I shouldn't have done, and I backed it into a curb and bent an HRE $1,500 wheel, and it didn't hurt the wheel as much as it hurt my feelings, if you know the feeling, you know.
Yeah.
What can I do for you, Sam?
Bobby, I'm a mechanic out here in East Texas, and I've had this car stuck me for a while now. It's been over a year, and I haven't done anything with it.
Wow.
It's a 2001 Montero Sport. When I first got it, it wasn't having any signal or any pulse to one of the coil packs. It has 3 coil packs, a 6-cylinder.
Right.
One coil pack was not having any signal. I thought I swapped the coil pack just in case, but I knew it wasn't getting any signal to it. So what I did was I swapped out the ECM, and I know that the car has a theft system in there, so I swapped out the whole ignition switch with the security system, so it would work with that replacement ECM. I went to a salvage yard and I got it all from the same car.
Got it.
So now when I go to start it, it does have signal to that coil, but now I'm not getting injector pull.
Well, it sounds to me, well, number one, let me ask this question. So you had a single part failure that you knew, but it wasn't the part failure, it was the part wasn't getting a signal from the ECM.
Yes, sir.
Right. And so as you were saying that, I said, well, you know, how about the ECM? But you went to get another ECM, but what's required is you had to get a matching ignition because of the security. And has it run since you did that?
It won't run because of the injector pulls. So I took it to one of my friend here. He works at a locksmith place, and he does all my security issues if I need to get a car reprogrammed or anything like that.
Got it.
And he put his Tech 2 on it. It says, and he's telling me it's the computer's getting signal from the key, and there is no security issue. So, and I've looked everywhere. I've looked online on forums and everywhere.
Well, let me, Sam, just in the interest of time, and if I have to cut you off, I'll hold you through the break. But I've just got a couple of little interesting ideas here. Number one, do you have the original ECM and ignition switch?
Yes, sir.
Well, when I come back, I'm going to share with you what I think is a good next move for you. And the best news is it's not going to cost you any money. So, folks, you stay right there, Sam. Don't you hang up. I'm going to come back after the break, and we're going to pick up right where we left off. From the Car Clinic inbox, Jason in Dallas writes, Bobby, the battery in my 2012 Honda just died. I hear you talking about Power Frame. Is this a battery you recommend? And where can I get it? Jason, Power Frame isn't actually a battery brand. Power Frame is the type of grid technology inside select automotive batteries. Why are grids so important? The positive grid provides the energy necessary to start your car, and corrosion of this grid is the number one cause of battery failure. Power Frame grids are different because the patented grid pattern is optimized for consistent and superior starting power. The manufacturing method and material composition used to produce Power Frame grids result in increased durability and corrosion resistance. In fact, they're 66% more durable than other grid designs like book mold or expanded metal. You can find Power Frame grid technology inside Autocraft Gold and Platinum AGM and CarQuest Silver, Gold, and AGM batteries at your local Advanced Auto Parts and CarQuest stores. For more about Power Frame grid technology, drive to powerframe.com.
You're listening to Bobby Likis Car Clinic.
You can call them used. You can call them previously driven. You can call them anything you want. The point is somebody, maybe even a dozen somebodies, owned the car before you did. And before you put down your hard-earned dollars for the car, you deserve to know exactly where it's been. Get a vehicle history report from Carfax.com. They'll give you the real history of any used car. Visit CARFAX.com or ask your dealer for a Carfax report. Don't buy a used car without Carfax.
I, Dennis Walker, pledge allegiance to the roof. I know it'll be clean. I know it will be comfortable. And I know that if the phone rings when I'm in the shower, I can just let it ring. For I have voicemail. Red Roof Inn, one room, under budget, with free cable and local calls for all.
98% of Red Roof guests are so satisfied with their visit, they plan to come back. Now that's not just loyalty, that's allegiance. For reservations, call 800-RED ROOF.
We're a land of cynics. We don't believe anything anymore. You know why? Because we've been told we've won $1 million, that it's new and improved, that it slices and dices, that our favorite singer is still alive, that we'll be prosecuted if we cut off the tags, and of course that everything is backed with a 100% money-back guarantee. So when we hear the words customer service, we don't believe it. Travelocity isn't surprised if you're a little skeptical when they say they have excellent customer service, and that there's actually a pleasant face behind this website, a living, breathing person with a supercharged computer full of answers. Someone who's willing to help when you get lost, and most of all, someone that will actually pick up the phone when you call with a question or a concern. Customer service is just another example of how Travelocity puts you in control of travel. Chances are you'll never have to use it, but it's good to know it'll be there if you need it. Travelocity.com. Go virtually anywhere.
And now back to Bobby Likis Car Clinic and your host, Bobby Likis.
And welcome back to Bobby Likis Car Clinic. I hope you're having as great a time today as I am. We're talking with Sam from Texas. And so, Sam, as you were explaining what you have done, it sounds like you've got a handle on how to do these things. Here's my thought. And to undo what you've done, put the old ECM back in the car and put the ignition back to the other one, and then the engine will run. We know that, or at least we assume that it'll go back to where it was when you left that arena. Would you agree?
Yes, I've actually already done that just to make sure.
Okay, and did it?
And it'll start. Yes.
Okay,
but
continue.
Oh, but the coil still stays the same.
Well, okay. To that end, here then that brings, now that we know that, and thank you so much for already doing that. You're very astute. What I would imagine is that the ECM has a driver problem for that bank.
Okay.
And so I'm with you to change ECMs, or it could be that the wire, and you need to pin out the wire. You understand what a pin out test would be to verify the ohms resistance between the computer, not the computer itself or the ECM, but the wire that plugs into that port that feeds that fires that the driver that fires that coil.
Okay.
You see where I'm going?
Yes, sir.
So So in other words, we can simplify it and say you got a light bulb that doesn't work. You put a new bulb, it still didn't work. You put a switch at the wall, it still doesn't work. Obviously, you got a wiring problem between the switch, because all the rest of the house lights work. So you got a wiring problem between point A and point B. And so I would feel more comfortable with you with the original configuration that the engine runs.
Right.
And then verify the wire, and then I would feel comfortable saying that it is the ECM. And if that's the case, you can buy, you're going to have to reprogram. Let's see, what year is it? 01. You got to reprogram any that you put in, but it is my belief, and I'm not sure because it's an 01, and every OEM has their own little gig, So it's my belief that you could go to an auto parts store and buy a reman ECM, except because it's a Mitsubishi, I'm not so sure that's as common as if it were Chevrolet, if you know what I'm saying. I mean, Chevrolets, there's so many Chevrolets on the market that you can buy those parts anywhere. GMC, Chevrolet, all the part numbers are pretty well interchangeable, as long as they're not bumpers or grills, as far as engine parts, or electronics and what have you. So it's my concern for you that you're trying to force this foreign entity to work in a different automobile, and there are a lot of factors involved, and without the proper equipment and the reprogram, that's not going to happen. And then even with a reprogramming, you got to have somebody who's been there, done that, and understands the methodology, because it's phase 1, it's phase 2, and it could go on forever. That's kind of why I'm leaning toward the original component, and to prove whether or not it's internal in that ECM or it's a wire between that ECM and the coil pack. That would be my direction. Does that make sense to you?
Yes, sir. It actually just dawned on me, or the light bulb finally turned on. I guess two heads are better than one, and one better trained head is better than the other.
Well, I guess you're talking about yourself. Hey, thanks, Sam. Where are you calling from?
Longview, Texas.
Longview. Well, thanks for tuning in, and that's a new arena for us out there. So I appreciate you. And when you get to the other side, please check back with me and educate me as to what really was the culprit. But I think you and I are on the right track, and I wish you well. Thank you so much.
Thank you, sir.
Nice young man. It can be really, really difficult to trace items like this, and that's why I was so concerned that he would try to force that foreign object to work in a whole new. The body throws off. Sometimes you put a part in the body from another, and it doesn't work right, and that's the same thing true for a car. I want to share this with you, and then I'm going to go to pick back up on the phone to see the Eric and Les and Victor. So you folks stay right there. You've heard me talk about K&N air filters. So I was asked the other day, when was the first time you used a K&N? And I said, gosh, I don't know, forever. But that's not true. I mean, nothing's forever. But as I remember, we used K&N high-flow air filters in the early 80s because we loved the sound. Just loved the sound. And it was and that was in the carbureted days when cars had carburetors. And so many people used to take the top of the carburetor air filter, that can part that was shaped like a dome, and turn it upside down and put the wing nut on it. Made me sick. And really, and because they'd hear this whoomp, the hone of the engine. And of course, that would allow dirt, debris, and everything else to really attack the filter, any filter that was there. But you could put a K&N and have some of that and have free flow and more airflow and still have the filtration because of the three-dimensional type filters that versus the regular surface of a regular air filter. So that was my first event with K&N. And to that end, if we fast forward to 2015, the sound a K&N cold air intake makes reminds me of the 80s. So does life change, or do things change? I mean, because the cars have really changed, but the K&N certainly has only gotten better. And the power, you notice this when you're passing someone. And a great example of an installation that we did, if you fast forward, Captain Dinkler owned a GT Mustang. It was a 412 horsepower advertised, but it only had 350-something horsepower at the rear wheels. And that's normal, folks. That's normal. Because a manufacturer advertises horsepower, but that's under the hood. So we took Captain Dinkler's Mustang, and we changed all the fluids to synthetic. We installed a K&N, and this was a beautiful carbon fiber. It was gorgeous because he was really particular about this car. And installed the K&N cold air system, and we ended up with 396 horsepower at the rear wheels, verified, with no internal engine. We didn't touch anything internal in the engine. We did an intake, we did some exhaust, which I think is more for sound than anything else, and did some reprogramming, but the combination of those factors in K&N netted this gentleman, friend of mine, customer of mine, 44 net horsepower at the rear wheels. That's the difference a K&N system can make. Check it out, knfilters.com. Now we'll go to Eric. Eric, welcome to Bobby Likis Car Clinic.
Yeah, Bobby, glad to hear you on the airwaves today.
Gracious, thank you so much. I appreciate that. What can I do for you?
Listen, I got an Axiom Isuzu, 144,000. I changed the timing belt at 75,000 manufacturer. Now I'm reaching that 100.5 again. Do you think I need to change over that belt again?
Well, what was the manufacturer's recommendation? Because a lot of them are 70,000 miles. 90,000 miles, and some are 105,000, like Lexus. But what's the OEM spec on that particular vehicle?
Yeah, I think it was 75, sir.
Well, then you can it's only good insurance and to replace it on a mileage. Here's my concern. So the answer is yes. I mean, you're ahead of the game. You've not had any problem with this vehicle. It's working well with you. Here's
absolutely. Yeah, well, I have had no problems with the vehicle at all.
Well, then here's what I suggest. Make sure that when you change the belt, you put the kit and only the kit in, because you don't want to replace the belt, because there are idler, pulleys, and tensioners that come with the kit. And in some cases, there's a water pump that comes with the kit, and all of those spin together, and they all lean on each other for security and tightening and all those sorts of things. And so you replace one new part, that doesn't assure you that those other pieces are going to support it. Do you understand what I'm saying?
So have it all changed out then?
Yes, it's called a timing belt kit. And,
timing belt kit.
Yes.
Okay.
You could check O'Reilly Auto Parts has these on the shelf. If not, they can order it for you. But by all means, anytime, and this goes for anyone listening, when you replace the timing belt, unless you're stranded on the side of the road and somebody brought you a belt, when you're in a shop, you replace the kit, because the manufacturers have found, and you think, well, they're just trying to sell you parts. That's not the case at all. They're trying to protect their belt, their new belt, because you're putting their new belt on old pieces, and you're supporting it with old technology. And pulleys wear more rapidly than the belt wears, actually, because it turns much more. Anyway, so there's your answer. Replace it, but make sure that the kit is installed. Hey, thanks for calling. Thanks for your confidence in me.
All right, sir. Thank you.
You're welcome. Now let's take a call from New York, and then we're going to go to Victor Les. Welcome to Bobby Likis Car Clinic from New York, the center of the automotive universe. That's where you landed.
Hey, Bobby. This is Les from Endicott, New York.
Well, welcome.
Well, glad to talk to you. Hey, I have a 2007 Chevy Tahoe 5.3.
Okay.
And yesterday morning, I noticed a noise in the engine compartment. I changed it. It sounded like a chirping noise up front. So
right.
It sounded like it was possibly the idler pulley. So I changed that myself. Still had the same noise.
Right.
So I took it to my Chevy dealer, and naturally, it sounded just like a water pump. I was about to leave for a couple-hour trip, so I said, well, I don't want to take a chance on it. Put a new water pump on, had the same noise. Next step was to take the serpentine belt off, and also the the AC belt.
Right, and then crank the engine so that you got everything's off and not turning. So tell me the noise was still there?
Still there.
Yeah, well, you know what that means.
Yeah, something internal.
Internal. Well, let me ask a quick question. Have you noticed the oil pressure, and this is not bad, have you noticed the oil pressure at an idle from time to time falls much lower than it normally has previously been?
No,
Okay.
no, and that's
All right.
one thing that's a mystery. The oil
Okay.
pressure's fine, and it's got 125,000 on it, but it's never gone more than, I change it every 3,000 miles. Once in a while, it might make it 4,000 if it's a long trip.
Well, it concerns me that you've got a chirping noise on the inside, and when you take the belts off and you still got that noise, then you know, and I know that it's inside. My next question and suggestion would be to use a mechanic's stethoscope and touch the various part with the belts off, just like you've got, and touch the timing cover and the pan and see if you can more closely identify the origin of the noise. Do you know if they did that other than just standing with their head over the hood listening to noise?
Yeah, no, we tried the stethoscope on it, and still haven't really narrowed it down yet. So,
gosh, I think if it's not serious, I'm almost tempted to say, how many miles on the vehicle?
125.
I'm almost tempted to say, drive it and monitor it, and see what happens over the next 500 miles. I don't think it's going to roll over and die or blow up on you, and you're certainly more aware and cognizant of this noise. And I mean, you'll hear it now even with the radio turned up. So I think you should monitor it unless the dealer has a better idea. My concern is that you take it apart, and I mean, what would you do? Replace the timing chain and all the gears? I guess that's in the tensioner. That's the only thing that's the next step.
Yeah, that's
that's expensive.
My thought.
Yeah. Well, I think you should drive it for a couple more weeks, and let's give it let's see if it will change. And I really don't have any suggestion other than take it apart. My concern is that you got an oil pump there, which I doubt is the noise, but could be. You got a tensioner, you have chains, and so something in there. But unless I could, with a stethoscope, really hear it going, just like I'm doing with my mic, there's no way that you know exactly what's going to fix it. I wish you had more pinpoint ideas, but I do not, and that's the truth. So monitor it for a couple of weeks, and then let's reconnect and make a decision after a couple of weeks. Okay?
I appreciate it.
I appreciate you. Thank you. You're welcome. Let's go back to Washington and talk to Victor. Victor, I really appreciate you holding. Again, we're short on time, and I apologize for that. We just had calls in the queue. But
anyway, I'll just finish it off. What I found out from that case was that there is no law that says that our elected officials have to obey the Constitution, and they are not obeying it. They're breaking the Constitution.
Okay.
So basically, our Constitution is void, and anybody that thinks they have constitutional protection doesn't realize it. That's what I thought when I started. So anyway, I found that out, that our Constitution is void and we have a dictatorship. We have an elected dictatorship, a republic dictatorship, not a constitutional republic, but a dictatorial republic. And that's why they break the Constitution.
So what is your suggestion for a moving forward successfully? And again, we're out of time. I apologize, but that's the way time clocks. So what do we do? We
have to elect honest people that are looking out for the United States and protecting the citizen, so that we aren't destroyed. And but global business controls the media, and they're brainwashing the people. And they take an oath to uphold the Constitution. So basically, when they break the Constitution, they just lie. So we got a lying government, and how can you trust a bunch of liars?
Well,
see, that's where we're at. We have to elect honest people in there, and I don't know exactly how you do that. You're as smart as I am. You're smarter than I am. But that's what we have to do. But I just wanted the people to know that we don't have constitutional protection.
Thank you. On that note, I'm smart enough to know that this show is over for today. Folks, thank you so much. Next week, 10 to noon Eastern Time. Likis, you'll love us.
The express written approval of Car Clinic Productions Incorporated.
Today's new product spotlight is on Denso's Iridium TT spark plugs. Your vehicle's spark plugs deliver the electric current necessary to ignite the fuel that runs your engine. But not all spark plugs are the same. Denso is proud to introduce the Iridium TT spark plug. The Iridium TT's two tips, the twin tip, allow the spark plug to create the largest spark concentration and explosion for more power, superior fuel economy, and fewer emissions. And fewer emissions help protect our environment, while fewer visits to the pump save you money. Denso's Iridium TT spark plug is designed to last beyond 100,000 miles. The patented formula features the highest iridium concentration of any spark plug and outperforms in the most severe engine temperatures, resisting oxidation and voltage wear. Denso has the tradition of innovation. Using their OE expertise, Denso products are manufactured to give you the right part and the right fit the first time, every time. Learn more about Denso's Iridium TT spark plugs at densott.com.
You're listening to Bobby Likis Car Clinic.
P. Ricey Outfitters, I'm Tina. How can I help you?
I'd like to place an order.
Great. Which item?
The cotton roll neck sweater, large.
Okay. Periwinkle, Loden, or caramel?
The caramel, please.
The what?
I'd like it in caramel.
Oh, the caramel?
Yeah, that's what I said, Tina.
Actually, you said caramel when it's pronounced caramel.
Can't we just call it yellow?
No.
Everyone knows the best part of a Milky Way. They just don't know how to say it. After all, it's our caramel.
It's caramel.
Ugh, that makes a Milky Way great.
You start my morning, you stir in my soul, you warm my heart, make me feel whole. Your aroma calls me, starts my morning, happy morning, your name is